There we go. Glad I waited there for you guys to be able to see it. I think somehow I turned the camera off on the screen. All right. So let's wait a little bit longer. There we go. Now I at least can see it on the screen. That was weird. So yeah, this is a song that I've been working on. I just did it probably a day ago. Not even a day ago. Yesterday sometime. I can't even remember when I did it. But anyway, so maybe this was 2 days worth of work because I came back to it later. But it started, let me just walk you through the steps of the process of how I did it. So I'm not a big fan of, I'm not going to say I'm not a big fan. Let me rephrase that. I never really got into dub music, even reggae music. Probably the most reggae music I've ever listened to is Bob Marley. Like, and that would be only the songs that were popular at the time. So I never was into that music. Um, it's not that I don't appreciate it or I think it's a cool sound or whatever. It's just not me. So, anywho, the challenge is to, sample it or do something with it. So, most of you guys know what sampleit.io is. I've done a few things on it. You've seen other people probably use it. It's basically a way to find music on YouTube using their search engine. And so it can find at random these um, cool songs, and sometimes you can find and discover new things that you've never heard of. So I did about 7 minutes, you'll see right here, of sampling I'm just literally hitting random through sampler.io to pull clips from dub music. Now I'm not going to play it on here because I'm not going to play the sample, because I don't want to get a strike on me when I'm going to definitely be monetizing this video. I don't monetize it while I'm watching it or while you're watching it so that you can enjoy it. But for the people that go back later and watch the live video, then yeah, it'll be monetized for sure. That's how I fund the channel, right? So anyway, so I did that, and within this sample here, I collected a bunch of different things. So I collected this drum pattern, for instance, right? So then I threw that through Chopper. Is it Chopper or Chopper? And I put it on note, one shot, and then play through but chop note, right? So I could control which part of this sample I want to play. And they're all the same, except for one is going to be the kick, one's going to be the snare, one's going to be the hat, right? That's pretty much what it is. And what's cool about this is you can use multiple hats. So this could be one hat, this is a hat. You can use multiple of these hats or even snares to make your music sound slightly different. Or to give you some variation in the sound of the drum, I should say. Okay, so that's the drums, right? This bass came from Chill Hop Hunter on YouTube. He makes a lot of good videos, by the way, if you haven't checked him out. He has a Chill Hop pack that he sells, and this is like a Moog sub bass. And I added the release onto the end. So let me let you hear the song, and then what we'll do is I'll finish breaking down the rest of it for you. So here's what it sounds like. I'm going to skip ahead. Okay. So you hear the drums going, you hear different parts. What did I do to get there? I started actually, believe it or not, with the chords. So these chords came from this sample. So here, go back. I don't remember where, but these are the chords. So I made two sets of chords, right? So, right. And then, so from that sample, I was able to extract these chords, chordal parts. And that's mostly what you hear in the song. It's a lot of repetition of that, which is right here, these two, A5 and A6. Just going back, they go through the whole song, those chords. It's like four chords. So then I took that and built the beat part over that. So let's see if we can see when you're on the iPad, you can touch the screen and solo and mute stuff pretty quick. But with this, it's very hard to do because you don't have two mice. Is it mice? Mouse. Two mice, yeah. Don't want to get that confused. To be able to touch it on here and mute it. So it's virtually, I won't say it's impossible. You'll have to use the QWERTY keyboard to do it and map it to here. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. So I created these chords. So here's the chords. And then I created what I told you guys about, which is called textural stuff in the background. Remember, I just dropped a pack. Keep telling you guys about textural. So I found a portion of the song, or in this big old 7 minutes, of something that would be textural. So here it is. And you can see I time stretched it. 16 bars. So that section, I time stretched 16 bars to the BPM and pitched it down about 3 semitones. Okay, so that's going on in the song. So you have that with the chords, the drums, and then I added the bass in last, and I'll show you what the bass looks like. Use the keyboard. I use the pentatonic to do the bass. So if we go into, let's go into there, you can see the bass. It's a really simple bass line, probably like 4 bars of a bass line, and that's it. So let's keep it going. So that is pretty much the chords, the texture, the bass, the drums. So let's look at the drums real quick. I'll just show you. We'll go into this one. There's your drums. There they are. All right, let's get out of this. Go back. So you got your drums, you got the now these next parts I'll tell you about, which is the guitar and the bass. These actually came from the guitar is from Ample Sound. That's why it's labeled White Falcon. So I'm playing into now I did this on the phone. So the only reason you're seeing it on the desktop because it's much easier to show you. But I did it on the phone. So I recorded from out of my computer into the iPhone and just recorded the guitar. Now to do this in time, well, first of all, I had to play in time, but to make it work, you play the track, go back to the sample page, trigger a pad, and then just start playing, right? You don't need a count in or anything like that. Just catch the beat and play. As long as you play on beat, it'll work. But when I'm playing a lead, I'm not always playing like trying to play perfect, right? I'm just trying to create something I think that sounds good. So I played two parts. And then this is the second part right here. These are 8 bars each. If you hit stretch, you can see the 8 bars. That's how I know, right? but I knew I also played for 16, so I was fine. Same thing with the horns, the saxophones. So I'm using the tenor sax from Swam Instruments. You can do this on iOS. However, I did it on my desktop just because it was much easier for me because I could use my Osmos keyboard to just play the MIDI and the notes or MIDI and the audio. So that made it easier. The intro to this song, interestingly. Oh, and I made these drums. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have used this for a texture, but I can't remember. I can't remember if I did or not. Anyway, let me see. Go into here. Did I use that? Yeah, so that's a drum part that's textural going on right there. I need to actually change that. I didn't realize I had loop on there. It should not be on loop. No, it should be on one shot. That was weird. Okay, so I didn't even realize that was on. Let me save that. So yeah, there's that part going on. That's the textural kind of might consider it percussive, I guess, but it's more texture. And you remember how I told you guys put delay on stuff? On my master here, you'll see Bit Cooker. I showed you this in a previous video. 32 kilohertz, 12 bit. I always use this on the master. I just love the bit cooker. I think it sounds good. But on this delay, 316, 3/4. So you can see I got two delays going on, but they're doing different things in the right and the left. And let's go back to sample. So you can see if you go to the mix, which one is on A. So this little drum percussive part is actually on A. So anything you switch over. I EQ'd this other here just to give it a little more bass because I felt like it was extremely low. This one's fine. None of that going on there. Chords are fine. Now, what is this little reverse intro thing? So what happened was I made this intro. Let me play it for you. This is what it's on. It's just the chords and the other and this drum part. Okay. So by the way, these two are texture. I know it says drums and other, but these are texture. These are chords. I probably should just rename them. Let's do that right now. Why not? So we'll call it chords 1 or chord 1, chord 2. This is why you want to label your stuff. This one we'll call it texture pad. And this one we'll call it texture percussion for texture perk. Cool. So now you'll know what they are. Definitely label your stuff. Make sure you hit save. So there's the texture percussion, texture pad, the chords. These are the drum parts. This reverse intro is literally this intro here reversed. That's all it is. And then I put it here. Excuse me. So that's all this is. Now, why would I do that? Well, for me, to make an intro for this song, I just didn't feel like doing it. I was kind of lazy, but whatever. So instead of making an intro, I used the same intro that I would have used and played it in reverse so that by the time it hits the listener's ear on this part, then the song would start in forward. Then at the end of the song, if you look here, I'm actually playing it regular, but I'm not. I took all the drums out, I took all the other parts out so that it just plays out. And that's what you hear when you hear this part. It's just the chords, the little drum perk, and the texture pad. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video of Koala, why I want them to add a fade here that you fade out. And the reason is because they could add it on the sequencer, I guess. But look at this right here. You can't fade this. This is going to cut off. But at least if you have some option to fade this, you could make this part go out. I had to literally put it into AUM, then I had to record it and then draw a fade out. It was just a mess. It's just so much extra work for something that could be really useful. We need a fade. I want to fade the song out on that end. I need to. Now they could do it with automation or something like that, maybe where it puts an automated fade on the end, I don't know. But either way, we need fades. I want to be able to fade in or fade out really easy without having to go to the sample and make a fade, turn it down, and try to. It's too much work for something that where we're in this time where we can throw a fade on the end. But anyway, that's another gripe. But that's not going to happen just because I gripe about it. All right. So you notice I haven't used any of these other pages. So I hear people that use thousands of pages in here. Or they use, I say thousands, we don't even have thousands. They use A, B, C, D and have it all filled out. I'm like, how in the world? But I think they're just randomly making different pads and chopping pieces and keeping every little part. And I get it, but I don't get it. So you really don't need all of that. Now, of course, this depends on the style of music you're making. If you got like 17 drum parts or 16 drum parts and you need a whole section for all your drums, okay, I could understand that. Maybe you want to put your drums all in one section. But for the most part, if you're just chopping samples like I'm doing here, and then here's a few that I played in, you don't really need a ton of stuff. And that's the beauty of this chopper right here is for drums. I mean, it's perfect. If you want to capture, adjust these endpoints so that you works great. And this becomes a snare. That's a snare. Of course, you can shape these if you wanted to, different ways, but let's be real. I don't need all of that. As long as the drums sound good, that's all that matters. So you hear that going on still? That's the delay still lingering. But anyway, I think I turned off the hold. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. So you can literally make your whole song in here. The biggest thing I have trouble with in Koala, the primary thing I should probably say I have trouble with, is getting a really good mix. Um, Especially when you're using samples, I feel like sometimes it's kind of a challenge. But if you know what you're doing and you're intricate with your mixing and going in here and detail, and you don't mind resampling and using effects that way, you can come up with some pretty cool stuff. I tend to want to make the music here sometimes or get it started, and then I'll go to Ableton to finish, just because my thought process is I need to. I don't want to do something that's more challenging in here to work myself. I'd rather just keep it as simple as possible. That way I don't lose the joy for using the app and I still get what I need done. That's just my motto. I mean, everybody's different. Some people like the challenge of fighting to figure out how they're going to create a fade or how they're going to do. Yeah. And by the way, I know someone said you can, and this is true, you could add a release to cut off some of the tail end, but it doesn't tell you where it's cutting it off. You're literally guessing. See, I don't even know if it's cutting off. Let me turn it all the way up. Watch this. Doesn't even sound like it's doing anything, right? And it could be because it may not be working while I'm in stretch. And that's the thing I don't know. So I need this to stretch because I'm not chopping this up in smaller pieces. See, so it's things like that that I can't rely on a release for a fade. It just doesn't work. So anyway, that is pretty much how I made this song. This song will be played on a Koala Flip challenge this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this Friday. The finished version. You're listening to a non-mixed version because this is how it starts, and then eventually I mix it. You have to hold the sample, then release. It has to be on one shot to hear it. Yeah, see, but that's not. I don't want it on one shot because if it one shots, then I have to force it to play all the way through, and that's why you need a fade separate. Sometimes if I'm time stretching something and I want it to just play like the way it is, if you one shot it, it will play all the way through, but maybe I don't want it to go all the way through. See what I'm saying? Then when you get on the sequencer and you want to shorten this up, you can't because you've already played the one shot. So it's literally going to play the whole thing. So I hear what you're saying, Speed Booster. Yeah, they just need to do an upgrade on it. And I'm on the beta, by the way. This isn't the beta version, but I'm on the beta team, so I know I'm with what they're doing and where they're at. But I've been saying it for a while that it just needs to have certain things. We're too far along in the game to be not having a fade on this. I mean, think about it. If you create a loop here and do loop points, you already got loop points where you can loop and make an instrument, crossfade. So a fader is not too far away. It just is something that is probably a tedious little thing to make and just needs to be added. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I know all those little shortcuts of ways you can work around it, but I'm just looking for something simple. And it's primarily when I'm sequencing that I need those fades. See, like where I want the song to end here, but I don't want this sample to keep playing on. I want it to. So those type of things I have to do outside of this, which is why I still use Ableton or I still use like AUM on the phone. I did this whole thing on AUM on the phone, the rest of it. But the initial, because I had to go there to mix to use good. See, the problem is these tools are good. Let me put it like this: these tools are okay. In my opinion, they're okay. But when you use better tools on devices, you have expectations. I'm just saying that's just the way it is. Yeah, in time it will. It'll definitely get there in time. Believe me, I know some things that they're working on. Can't talk about them. Um, so yeah, there will be some things that will get better. But the sequencer is one that needs to get better to me a lot quicker. Like a lot of people don't know there's loop points up here. But why would I loop this if the audio can't play in between? So watch what I'm talking about here. I'm gonna show you. Let me delete this. Oops. So you see how these little slices here, if I pick this spot here to play, let me show you. Let me hit play. This sample here is not playing, neither is this one. it won't start playing until it gets to the one. See this little part where the sample breaks? So unless you micro chopping or you chopping smaller pieces, you can't pick the audio up in between and know what's going on. Like in a DAW, or some other devices. I'm not going to say the names, but you can listen to the audio at this point and know what's going on right here. You can't, because you're just triggering. These are just triggers, right? So those are the things that can make it better and more fluid. And you see, we don't have a song mode. So technically, unless you make smaller sequences, which I tend to play in 8 or 16, but I know a lot of people play in 2 or 4. Those are small sequences, but when you're trying to record a saxophone riff, you need more than 2 bars to do it. So, yeah, I agree. Speed booster gamer. Yeah, I agree. There's just little things like that that seem like they're not important to you until you try to finish a song in Koala, and then you'll realize, oh, okay, I can't trigger in the middle. I can't trigger. So it's great when you're doing small stuff, chopping stuff. It's perfect. Koala is amazing. It still is amazing even for other stuff. But like live looping, we could have live looping here. Other than having to go get Loopy Pro, I don't really like Loopy Pro. I'm not against it. It's not bad. It's a good tool. I'm just not a fan of using it. Um, just because I don't like all the heavy duty workflow. But little things like having a live looper on here where each pad could be kind of like the SP404 has. You can set a pad for 4 bars or 2 bars or 6 bars or 8 bars, and then you can automatically create a live loop. Do I know a workaround? Absolutely. You can create the loop up here, set it for the length you want, and then record into the pad, and it'll loop at that. But it's a lot more work to do it. And when you have stuff that create makes you have to do more like that, it takes you out of the moment. You live in the moment. When you make music, it's like a moment, right? You capture it. So if you're trying to live loop, it's a bit challenging. Not impossible, challenging. But yeah, that's just some of my gripes. You know, everybody works so different. So there's no one way, oh yeah, just do this, or just we all are different the way we work. So I'm just telling you my thought process. For instance, here's another thing. There's 8 per bank, but technically they're not related to a bank. There's 8 sequence slots per thing, right? Have you ever seen anybody use 8 of them? I mean, have you ever seen anybody use, I'm sorry, 32 of them? 32 sequences? I don't think I've ever seen anybody use 32 sequences. It could be somebody out there that uses 32 sequences. But my thing is, why not use some of this real estate, the space, to put something other than 32 sequences? Like honestly, like maybe 16 sequences is plenty, right? It's more about, okay, we need the ability to live loop or something. And honestly, I think the live loop should be on the pad. Like right click on the pad, create a looper, tell it how long you want the loop to be, and then just record into that pad. And then you got a loop, right? That would be much easier. So anyway, these are just some things I'm just talking about. It's not happening, so right now we use what we have. But just wanted to say that. So yeah. So you can see how this one's a different length than one way you could work around that is just chop these into two and then play them as you want them. I didn't, because I wanted them to be at least 2 bars, and I figure if I time stretch it to where I want it, it'll play right. It worked out. So I didn't really, I mean, that's what you have up here. but technically this last chord is off. But for some reason I like it. I can't describe it. It's weird, but this particular one should be hitting right here. Now imagine this. Imagine if we could go into a sample and remove the space between this area and this area and drag it back. How cool would that be? Kind of drags the workflow and writes it's not impossible. Experimental things to move around these issues on Koala, and for real, we do not need all those sequences. Yeah, I'm with you. No, I love, and believe me, I love experimental stuff too. Messing around, trying to come up with stuff. There's so many ways to get the workflow and find ways to make music. It's ridiculous. Koala is incredible. Been using it for 5 years, maybe longer than that. Definitely 4 years, but I feel like it's been longer than that. But I was using it before half of this stuff in here. There was no mixer when I was using it ever. There was no mixer in here. There was no chopping and no auto chop, none of that. When I first got it, it was really basic. I mean, like really, there was no mutant solo. There was none of that. I don't even remember. There may have been time stretch, but I don't even remember time stretch. I don't think at that stage. I can't remember if that came later. Definitely no labeling, no coloring of your pads. Um, Splitting stems wasn't there for sure. When I first started using it, it was like, I mean, it was real rough. It was, I don't want to say homeless music making because it wasn't, because that's not funny at all being homeless. That's a serious thing for people. So I don't want to say that, but it felt like you were like, man, what am I going to do? So that's how rough it was. But anyway, it's come a long way and it's a beautiful app and I still love it. Still my only iOS app that I'm super um that I just still pick up and use all the time. Mostly on my phone though. Man, I used this when it first dropped. Day one user. Koala came a long way and is still going. And yeah, the majority of the stuff we see now was not there in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I can't say I was day one, but I've been using it for a long time. Like when it had nothing hardly. And it was just a real simple basic app. But yeah, it's come a long way and the Merrick is incredible. What he's been able to accomplish, and he's kept his prices reasonable, and just all around incredible guy. So, no disrespect there ever. This is a great app. I'm not saying because it doesn't have these certain features I want that I don't think it's a good app. And you can still make music. You see, I'm made a whole song using samples from random tracks here. Just yeah, so it's real easy. So one of the things that I do, and I'm sure anybody that's been using this for a while knows about it, but you can import a video. Not on this version. This is the Mac version, but on the phone iOS version and on the um, iPad version for sure. I'm not sure on Android. You can import a video, and that's how I got this audio here. Just import the video, and it strips the audio from it. Such a beautiful feature that that Koala has. So that's pretty much it. That's my workflow. That's where I'm at. Um, Hope everybody is doing well wherever you're at in the world. And yeah, just keep making music. Uh, Use Koala and whatever facet moves you to use it, because there's so many ways to make music with it. Um, there's no right or wrong necessarily. It's just however you feel works for you. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you, Speed Boost Gamer, for commenting, and anybody else that's chimed in. Appreciate each and every one. If you can hit the like for me on your way out, I'll see you guys on the next video. All right, guys. Have a good day.